So with the speculation around Assassin's Creed Ragnarok just building and building, something I've seen asked about a lot, or something that's been assumed, is that we'll see two protagonists in this game. So today I'm going to just give my thoughts on how likely it is that will happen, and whether I think it should. As always, if you guys disagree, that's totally fine, and I'd even like to know why, but with that said, let's just get right into this. So first of all, let's talk about whether this is actually likely to happen. Of course, the main reason people think this is a possibility is as a result of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The thing to keep in mind though, is these two games were created by two different teams. Odyssey was made by Ubisoft Quebec, who also made Syndicate, and Montreal 3, who were creating Ragnarok, also made Revelations, Black Flag and Origins, although the team under the lead of Ashraf Ismail only made the latter two. I don't exactly see this being a choice that the team would particularly want to make. Their stories have always been incredibly character driven and personal, and even after Darby McDevitt was switched out early in the Origins production for Elaine Merceria, that same character focus was kept intact, and I'd argue was emphasised even more than in some of Darby's work. While it's pretty obvious that Quebec were pushed into making an Assassin's Creed game that they didn't really want to make, the evidence being the undeniable parallels in Gods and Monsters, which is a fantasy game centred around Greek mythology, with a protagonist who looks exactly like Cassandra, as well as Odyssey's very existence and disregard for the franchise that it lives in. So it does make sense that they'd make a game with two protagonists. After all, these are the people who made Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and as you know, that's a completely different game to the type of things that Montreal 3 make. I honestly don't feel that a creative director like Ashraf Ismail would want to make a game where deep stories are exchanged for a game that's more marketable for a casual audience rather than people who had stayed with the series for a long time. Of course, that's my personal judgment. I could be wrong, I hope not, but you know, we'll see. The actual evidence for this come from a plethora of leaks, none of which have any credibility, at least the ones that mention anything about gender choice. The latest one has actually gotten pretty big. It's a tweet from a bloke named Jonathan just listing off a bunch of things about the game, and his source was himself, which, can't lie, a bit skeptical about that one, but you know. But basically, a bunch of people in the community, YouTubers, even as big as Jawraptor, have been passing this off as if it was fact, not even questioning its credibility at all, and it's just been generally accepted by a huge chunk of the community, which doesn't really help with the huge problem with misinformation so many people in the Assassin's Creed community have. So if you see anyone acting as if it's set in stone, it's not. Don't believe it. There's nothing that's came out about this, nothing even half credible. So don't believe it until you see it, basically. As much as people will act as if it is, you know, just for easy views and upvotes, there's nothing definite about having two protagonists, and all we can do at the minute is speculate. So that leads us onto the question of, should we have two protagonists? In my opinion, absolutely not. Those character-driven stories I've mentioned before is when Assassin's Creed has been at its very peak, and Odyssey didn't have good writers behind it, but even if the game did, there's no good reason for this. When you have two characters, you can either have two different stories that are going to make the game take far longer to perfect, and neither are going to reach their full potential anyway, or they could stay the same as they were in Odyssey, and at that point, there wouldn't really be any point in having two characters. You also got the issue of canon, where one of the protagonists is going to be the true protagonist, and because of that, even the people who like the idea of having two characters are going to feel devalidated, as I know a lot of actual Odyssey fans felt, as well. As a result of that, you shouldn't be able to relive the memories of the non-canon protagonist, because as much as the Animus has been made sort of a simulation, it's not. It's reliving memories that actually happened, and if something hasn't happened, we can't relive it. That's the main reason why this shouldn't happen, because it goes against lore. It goes against some of the first dialogue. It might be the first dialogue you actually hear in the whole series, when Vidic is telling you about what a memory is and how you can relive those memories. But anyway, the Assassin's Creed lore is very controversial, especially these days, so I'd like to go on something a little less controversial. Gender in video games. Yes, get it. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about this is because the main difference that gets brought up in these conversations is gender, and in a Ubisoft game that will have been made in a few years, that's always going to be about it. The dialogue wasn't even changed in Odyssey to differentiate that Alexios was a man and Cassandra was a woman, despite the fact that it would have hugely changed life for you living in 500 BC Greece. And when you put aside the voice acting and the character models, it means that there's no difference. It's like Ubisoft want to have a female protagonist, but don't feel like they can without having a man alongside her. Ubisoft Quebec in particular. And what you'll see come up again and again for so many people in this community are the words, I don't care if it's a man or a woman, as long as they're a good character, or something along those lines. We really really don't care. Games like Horizon Zero Dawn, the latest Tomb Raider games, as well as the huge hype around The Last of Us 2, have proven that on the whole, people don't care so long as the game is good. Ubisoft are simply too afraid to take the risk to do anything like that, and it's not even a risk, as those games have proven. People like good games on the most part, and they aren't really going to care. Ubisoft are just dangerously comfortable deciding not to innovate when the status quo is still profitable. There was that Forbes article a few months ago that said the protagonist should be a woman, and I disagree that it should be a woman, neither should they be a man. The only thing that they should be is someone interesting, well written, relatable, someone who grows, and you know what? That is a far cry from what we got with the two characters in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But I would like to know what you think. I know this is something people are very split on. Do you think we'll get the choice? Do you want us to get the choice? I'm interested. Anyway, that's been all for today. If you enjoyed, maybe leave a like. If you didn't, maybe let me know why. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time.